Welcome to the first podcast of the Boys Hub Live. This is the first episode, and we're going to be talking about the NFL draft. I'm the host, Brent.
I'm Evan.
I'm Noah.
I'm Alex.
I'm Jack.
And we're going to be doing this every Saturday, so stay tuned. So let's get this started. Evan, you want to talk about the first team, the Arizona Cardinals?
So for my draft grade, I gave the Arizona Cardinals a B. They got Isaiah Simmons, who I think is an absolute stud out of Clemson, and they got Josh Jones, pretty late in the draft, second or third round, for a first-round talent to protect Kyler Murray. And to top it off, they got better pass rushers with 2 defensive tackles.
I agree with Evan. I also put a B grade for the Cardinals draft because I love Isaiah Simmons. I think he's going to be a stud. And Josh Jones, that pick has me worried a little bit because if he fell so far from the first round where he was supposed to be taken, I think there might be something up with him we don't really know about. But also, Cliff Kingsbury's flex of his house is pretty dope, so that bumps him up a little bit.
Okay, Jack, do you want to talk about the Falcons draft?
I think that I gave him a B because I really liked that they replaced Desmond Trufant with AJ Terrell because he's a decently sized defensive back and he's really fast. He ran a 4.42 40, so he'll be able to keep up with all the fast receivers in the NFL. But that's about all they did. That was super important to the team.
So apparently the Baltimore Ravens got a good draft. Alex, do you want to say your rating, your grade?
Yeah, I gave them an A. I thought Patrick Queen was a really good pick, and I thought Jake Dobbins was also a really good pick because now I think their run game is going to be insane. And also DuVernay, the wideout from Texas, is also kind of a sleeper pick because he got 106 catches last season in college, which was really good.
Yeah.
And I think that they got some key components to continue winning.
I agree with Alex too because I think you can't forget about Justin Matabuki, the defensive tackle out of Texas A&M. They took that kid's a monster in the trio backfield of just the trio of Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, and J.K. Dobbins is going to be crazy.
Yeah, they got thunder and lightning going back there.
That's interesting. But what about the Bills? Evan?
The Bills, I gave them a C. AJ Epinesa, he is a great player. He had a bad combine, but I don't think that should have resulted in him falling that far. They got to made their defense even more loaded. Zach Moss, who's a stud running back out of Utah, to pair with Devin Singletary. The pick I really don't like is Jake Fromm in the 5th round. Like, you have Josh Allen, who's a young quarterback, and yes, if he gets hurt, you have your backup, but he's going to be a rookie, let's say, if Josh Allen gets hurt. So he's not going to be experienced. I think a better thing to do is to sign a veteran instead of spending a 5th round draft pick on a, pretty below average quarterback, in my opinion.
I agree with some things that Evan said, but I also kind of disagree because I don't really mind the Jake Fromm pick because last year Jake Fromm was a really good player and he was supposed to go top 10 in the draft. So I honestly don't see that his talent dropped off that much in 1 year. So I think he has a lot of potential. And I agree with Evan on this. I think Zach Moss is an absolute beast, and some people overlook him. And I think he's just a power back that will get the job done for them.
Yeah, I also think Zach Moss is really underrated, and Jake Fromm. I think he has a lot of potential. And he's a smart guy, but I don't know if he's necessarily a good fit for the Bills with them having Josh Allen. But they could use him for trade capital in the future, so you never know.
Okay, let's move on to the Panthers. Jack, do you have an opinion on them?
I thought that it was kind of dumb to pass on Isaiah Simmons because I think he was probably the best defensive player in the draft. And they just don't really have the best team ever. So I think that they would have had a way better draft if they got Isaiah Simmons.
We all agree with that?
I don't agree with that necessarily. I gave them an A draft class because I love their defense that they built up through that draft. Derek Brown, he's an anchor in the middle of the defense, crazy, athletic. Yetur Gross-Matos, he's He flies off the edge. He's also really good. And Jeremy Chin, who I think is one of the most underrated players in the draft, safety out of Southern Illinois. He can play.
I agree. I think that they're trying to rebuild their defense for their new coordinator, Matt Rule. So I think that their picks were actually pretty smart this time.
I gave him an A as well. First team ever to do all defense in a draft in the common draft era, and all their picks made sense. All their picks fit with the team, and wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers won the NFC South this year.
Okay. So the Cincinnati Bengals. Good or bad, Noah?
Great. Really good. They got their franchise piece in Joe Burrow, who's one of the cleanest quarterback prospects that they've seen in a long time. And I love that they paired him with T. Higgins. Those two are going to work together for a long time and be really good.
Okay, I have a question for you,
So I gave them
guys.
I gave them an A+.
I agree.
I have a question for you
Same.
guys. Do you guys think Tua is going to be a bust or not?
Mm,
Let's save
No.
that till we get to the Dolphins, but I don't think he will.
I gave the
Okay.
Bengals an A.
I gotta see him play.
There's really nothing the Bengals did wrong. They got
Yeah.
Burrow, Higgins, linebackers, and an offensive tackle in the later rounds. So
I think
Yeah.
they definitely built their
Did it
team
wrong.
even more.
Okay, so let's move on to my Chicago Bears. What's your guys' opinion?
that's disgusting.
Or whatever.
Horrible.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was all right. Their tight end from Notre Dame, Cole Kmet, or however you pronounce it. They just kind of waste tight ends at this point. They always have like 5, it feels like. He's not a bad player, but I don't know. They didn't really accomplish much during this draft.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree
I
with
gave them
Alex.
an F
Yeah, me too.
because they do not need a
Oh,
tight
yeah.
end. He's their 10th on the roster, and everyone else they drafted, I don't even know who they are. So that's not
I
a good
agree.
thing.
I gave him a C minus.
Okay. What about the Cleveland Browns? How did they do?
I think they did a good job in picking an offensive tackle to protect Baker Mayfield for a long time, even though there was speculation of them trading for Trent Williams. I think it was smarter to get Jedrick Wilson because they can have him for another 10 years, and Trent Williams is getting up there in age.
I agree with
I
Jack.
gave the Browns
I
a
would
B.
have liked
Yes, no.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, go Noah. I'll go.
I would
after.
have liked to see them take an offensive guard though, because I think that's another position of need. So
Yeah.
I think they could have taken one there, but other than that, I think they had a pretty good draft.
I gave him a B. Jedrick Wills, great pick, one of the best offensive linemen in the draft. Grant Delpit to pair with Denzel Ward to make a really good young secondary. Added
Yeah.
some defense, and one of my favorite picks in the draft, Donovan Peoples-Jones from Michigan, slipped all the way to the 6th round, debatably a 2nd or 3rd round talent. And if you can get that much value out of a 6th round pick, I think that's a really, really good idea to do. And the Browns did it. They didn't Browns
I
agree.
completely with that. And talking about offensive weapons, let's move to the Dallas Cowboys. How do you think they did?
I thought
Yeah, great
I
job.
thought they had a great draft. I gave them an A+, and they're one of only a couple teams with an A+ grade, mostly because of CeeDee Lamb, and I also really like the cornerback Reggie Robinson from Tulsa. I think he was a pretty good pick, and yeah,
Yeah, I mean, to pair CeeDee Lamb with Amari Cooper and Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield is going to give Dak Prescott and the offense some great weapons.
Yeah, they might have been my favorite draft class that we saw this year because CeeDee Lamb, and he's insane. He's
Yeah.
crazy. Trayvon Diggs is also a lockdown corner, and then Tyler Biadasz is pretty underrated. He's going to work with Dak Prescott for a long time.
Yeah,
I gave him a B+. Obviously, the CeeDee Lamb thing just falling into their laps to give him a trio: Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, and now CeeDee Lamb. And Trayvon Diggs, really good cornerback out of Alabama to replace Byron Jones. So now, obviously, they don't have Byron Jones, but they also don't have that 5-year, $80 million contract to pay him with either. So to replace him with a younger, maybe even higher upside corner is a really good move.
yeah,
I agree. And CeeDee Lamb was definitely a steal of the 1st round. I mean, the guy had 1,350 yards and 15 touchdowns last season at Oklahoma, which is just
definitely felt.
remarkable.
Okay. So let's move on to the Denver Broncos. Evan?
A plus.
Denver Broncos, I gave them an A minus. The Jerry Judy pick was not genius. It was just perfect because it slipped that far. I think CeeDee Lamb is the best receiver in the class, but Judy can also make a case for it. They also got Hamler in the second round, wide receiver. He's just incredibly fast. Then you get another weapon in Albert. I'm not even trying to pronounce his last name. The tight end from Missouri, who might have the highest upside in the draft. So when you take into account for all these weapons, including Drew Lock, and without giving up any draft capital, it's remarkable to me.
Yeah, I think the
Drew
Broncos.
Lock is
I think the Broncos can make a case for winning the entire offseason, going and picking up Melvin Gordon too.
Yeah,
I
I agree.
agree.
I think I love the way that they're building around Drew Lock. It's really good.
Okay. Alex, you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to add how underrated I think Hamler is because he doesn't get as much credit as I think he should because the guy almost had 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns, and he's just so fast coming out of Penn State. And I think that the Broncos in the future with this young offense and this complete rebuild is definitely a scary sight for defenses.
Okay.
Didn't KJ Hamler break Saquon's all-purpose yard record at Penn State? I think he did.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Let's move on to the Detroit Lions. Yeah. Evan, do you have anything to say about them?
C plus. They had an average draft. Jeff Okuda,
Yeah, Jeff
maybe the best.
Okuda's a
Chase
beast.
Young, and then Jeff Okuda can make a case for the second best defensive player in the draft. DeAndre Swift, I'm not too high on the pick. He's a good back, but I think there are bigger needs to adjust in the run game currently, like the offensive line that lets Matt Stafford get killed every game. They lost Rick Wagner in the offseason. They did get 2 offensive guards, but that was later in the draft. They got Quintez Cephas, who's a decent receiver from Wisconsin. He can make some noise, but overall, I like the draft for them, but I think they could have done a little bit better.
Yeah.
I love the draft. I love the Okuda pick, and I'm like Evan. I love the DeAndre Swift pick. I think he's a really good playmaker. Him and Kerryon Johnson are going to be really good in the backfield. But I do agree that they should have addressed the need at O-line much more than they did.
I
Okay.
completely agree. I think DeAndre Swift is an absolute beast. Some people even had him at number 1 on a lot of their running back boards. So I don't really know where Evan's coming from with this DeAndre Swift animosity, but I don't know.
Okay, let's talk about the Green Bay Packers.
Trash. Just absolutely stupid. No reason to pick Jordan Love at all.
I
So do
agree
you
with Jack.
do you think the Packers or the Lions had a better draft?
Line, 100%.
Lions.
Fine. I think the Packers were just completely dumb. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know
Yeah,
what their GMs and coaches were on during the draft, but they definitely weren't sober drafting Jordan Love.
I mean, I gave them a C minus draft grade because it doesn't help the win right now. There's a lot of moving pieces. This draft class could literally be the worst draft class I've ever seen on paper. But the upside is there, and the reason it's on F is because of all the upside they have. Jordan Love has a ton of potential. Who knows if he'll reach it, but he does have a lot of potential. A.J. Dillon's a stud from Boston College, but he doesn't fit in the second round or with the Packers offense. Josiah DeGuara, I'm not a big fan of the pick, and honestly, they should have gotten a receiver. They didn't, but just Love having a ton of upsides, but keeps them from being an F.
For me, I gave him an F because trading up for a quarterback that led the FBS in interceptions makes me think that there could have been a major drug crackdown at the Packers GM house. But there's I just don't know what was going through their head because he's not worth trading up for. And A.J. Dillon, they need a wide receiver most, and they took a quarterback, which they don't need, and a running back when they have Aaron Jones in the first 2 rounds.
Don't need a running back.
Spinning facts, Evan. That's a little generous with the C plus. Let's move on to the Texans.
I mean, definitely had a bad offseason, but I think getting an interior lineman from TCU, the Ross Blacklock, I think that was a decent pick. But I don't know. I don't think that they can make up for getting rid of DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
I agree.
I
I
agree.
don't really think they did much because honestly that when they decided not to go with cornerbacks or offensive line, I just think it was a stupid decision because that's exactly what they need and they didn't even target it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really needed, like Alex said, corners and O line, and they went with. I mean, I like the Ross Blacklock pick. He's gonna be an immediate starter rookie season. He can make a difference at D tackle, but all their other picks were not positions of need, and I think they might have broken the record for worst off season like of all time.
Yeah.
I gave him a D, which is my lowest draft grade. The thing that irks me the most whenever you brought it up was like they didn't get a replacement for Nuke, and the replacement they did get with Nuke, even if you can call him that, was picked with the 171st pick. Isaiah Cutler, don't know how to pronounce the last name, Cutler, the guy from University of Rhode Island, and the fact that you trade DeAndre Hopkins for nothing, and the picks you did get with him is a wide receiver from not even a Power 5 school. Personally, I haven't heard of him, but you don't get rid of Nuke just to draft Isaiah Cutler at the 171st
Yeah.
pick, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the
I agree.
Texans think that David Johnson's gonna fix their offense now that Hopkins is gone, but like
Yeah.
he's
That
washed.
he hasn't been good since his rookie season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot to say about the Texans, but let's move on to the Colts.
Great job.
Alex?
I might be a little biased here because I'm a big USC fan, but I'm kind of obsessed with this Michael Pittman pick because I just think he's one of the best receivers in this class, even though people rank him upwards of 9 or 10. I just think that he has a ton of talent, and I think because of his pure size and skill and his ability to jump up to the ball, I think he's going to make an immediate impact for their offense.
Yeah. I think he's a good fit with Brissett and Jonathan Taylor too, with Marlon Mack in the backfield is a great duo.
Yeah, I agree. I think Michael Pittman can beat any corner on a jump ball. He can just go up and get it. But Jonathan Taylor, he's also really good. Him and Marlon Mack in the backfield. He just needs to clean up his ball safety,
Yeah.
and he'll be good.
I gave him an A. They have on paper a brand new young core for the team. Michael Pittman, Jonathan Taylor, who's in my opinion is the best running back in the draft. Julian Bachman, an absolute, potential Pro Bowl safety in my opinion, and Jacob Eason, who Philip Rivers is getting old. Jacoby Brissett has 1 year left on his contract, so maybe if he sits behind Philip Rivers, he can become a serviceable quarterback to throw to Jonathan Pittman or Michael Pittman and then hand it off to Jonathan Taylor. So they really helped Jacob Eason.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the Kansas City Chiefs? How did they do?
I think they had an all right draft class average. I gave them a C because with their first round, I really think they should have gone DeAndre Swift instead of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is good, but I don't think he's worth a first round pick. Willie Gay Jr., he can make some plays, but he's not my favorite. And Lucas Niang, I like how they went with an offensive tackle because they do need one more offensive tackle. So I think they had an average draft. I give them a C.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, can't go wrong. What about the
Yeah.
Chargers? Alex, you have anything to say about the Chargers?
I thought the Herbert pick was a little questionable. I gave them a C, I think. Yeah, I thought Herbert was a little questionable because he's kind of a boomer bust pick. But Murray is definitely would have been the better first rounder for them. I thought they did all right though.
I
Okay.
agree. I gave him a C plus. I'm not high on Justin Herbert at all. I think he's the fourth best quarterback in the draft. Kenneth Murray's an undersized linebacker who's good, but he fills a need. But I don't think he addresses the team enough to make their grade higher. Josh Kelly's an absolute horrible running back from UCLA who should never have been drafted in the first place. And Alohi Gilman swims with sharks. I think it's him. So that dude might not even be on the roster literally in a year.
Yeah,
C plus.
I don't like the Herbert pick at all. I know they need a quarterback, but I'd rather see them go Tyrod Taylor. Stick with just Tyrod Taylor this year, and they should have taken Isaiah Simmons instead of Herbert, and then just waited out for a quarterback.
Okay, let's move on to the favorite LA team, the Rams. Jack, do you have anything to say about them?
I mean, they didn't do bad. They got a running back to replace Todd Gurley, but I don't know why they have Darrell Henderson, who's a decent running back. That's about the only super important thing that they did for the team, but I didn't really think that it was needed.
Okay.
I gave them a C because, I mean, I did think they needed a running back, but I think J.K. Dobbins was the better answer for them instead of Cam Akers. And then none of their other picks really stuck out to me, so I gave them a C.
They're really mediocre draft.
I agree. I also
Give
gave him
him
a
a
C.
C-.
Brent, I think we might have skipped over the Jacksonville Jaguars if we want to go back to them.
No? We're on to
Okay.
the Raiders right now. Evan, you want to talk about the Raiders?
The Raiders, I gave them a D+. Damon Arnett. If you want to get Damon Arnett, you trade down. You don't take them with day 2. So they didn't get much value out of them. Ruggs could be a stud, but I don't think he's worth that high of a pick. Lynn Bowden, they don't need another receiver. They need just way more than a receiver. So they just got more fast players and more players from Clemson. So I don't really see, the improvement in the needs field.
Yeah. I think John Gruden's gotten a little obsessed with just trying to draft explosive players to the point where that's his only focus. I gave him a C-.
Yeah.
I agree. I give him a D because I think I agree with what you guys said about John Gruden, and there were better options ahead of Henry Ruggs and Damon Arnett. But I do like the Lynn Bowden pick. I think he's really underrated and explosive, and I think he can play almost anywhere on the offensive side of the ball. So I like that pick, but other than that, it was a horrible pick.
Sounds like someone needs to put on headphones. I hear an echo. Okay, let's move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I
Anyone
love
else
their
say?
draft class.
Go.
I love their draft class. They were one of my favorites. I gave them an A+ because with their first 3 picks, they took C.J. Henderson, the cornerback out of Florida, Clavon Chaisson, the defensive end out of LSU, and Laviska Shenault, receiver out of Colorado, and they're all studs. They're all going to be Pro Bowlers in the future, I think, and they're all going to make immediate impacts in their rookie season. So I love their draft class.
Ambitious. Evan?
I gave
agree.
them a B. Yeah, C.J. Henderson, good pick. Cleveland Chaisson, good pick. Huncho Visca, great pick. They got lots of defense to reamp their defense. They got a weapon for Gardner Minshew. I gave him again a B, but the thing that's holding them back from an A, they didn't get rid of Leonard Fournette, and especially they didn't get rid of Yannick Ngakoue, who, if they can't get rid of him now, what value are they going to get out of him?
Okay, but why do you think they should get rid of Fournette? I think what other answers do they have at running back?
Yeah,
I don't think running back is that. It's an important position, but I'd rather get a 3rd, 4th round pick out of that compared to someone
I'd
who
rather
might
have
lead the
Fournette.
team.
I think
I
I'd
don't
rather
know
have
if I agree with that.
That's a bit of a hot take, but going back to the draft, I gave them a B+. I thought they got a little bit of everything. I thought it was a pretty good draft. Shenault from Colorado is a beast, so I think he's going to make an immediate impact after their shaky receiving core. I mean, Chark is pretty good, but I think that they needed someone like Shenault.
Yeah, they have a really inconsistent receiving core.
Okay, let's move on to the next team. The Dolphins.
Noah?
Yeah. I'll take this one. All right. Dolphins are my team. I love their draft class. First pick, Tua Tagovailoa. I think he's going to be one of the best picks of the draft. There's worries about his injuries, but I think he'll be fine. Let him sit a year behind Fitzmagic and learn and heal up, and then he'll be fine. Second year, come out hot. Austin Jackson pick 18. Some people could say it was like a reach pick, but he's maybe the most upside out of any pick in the draft. He's a freak of nature. He's huge. Then we took Noah Igbenogany, cornerback out of Auburn, cover the slot receiver. He's gonna be a stud. And we just really took every pick we made. We filled our holes and really like freaks of nature, huge guys who are like versatile and can play anywhere on the field.
Yeah.
Talking
I think
about
they had a good draft.
studs. Talking about studs. I don't know Mike Gillespie, whatever the hell his name is. I don't think he was a stud.
Who?
I'm not believing you. No, I don't think you're spitting facts. Let's
About
move
who?
on to the. Let's move on to the next team.
Can we keep talking
Minnesota
about the
Vikings.
Dolphins? I think there's more.
Okay, yeah. More to say, Alex. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add, I think that the Dolphins learned their lesson because they passed on Drew Brees due to injury concerns with his shoulder or something like that, and drafted Dante Culpepper. And I don't think any of us really know who he is. So I don't think they were going to pass up on Tua. So I think that they had a pretty good draft class. And I think Austin Jackson, although he's a little young and he's not the immediate impact player some people wanted the Dolphins to draft, I think he has the most upside of any O lineman. So I think they did pretty well.
Yeah, let's hope the Dolphins don't ruin Tua like they do with everyone else.
Okay. Anything else to say, Evan?
I gave him an A for pretty much the exact same reasons everyone else did. So not much more to be said.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's move on to the Vikings. Alex, do you have an opinion on them?
I gave them a B plus. I thought Justin Jefferson from LSU is a pretty good pick. I don't really know anything else. I think
Jeff
Jefferson
Gladney.
should have slipped all the way to 22. But yeah,
They got a good cornerback with Jeff Gladney too at pick 31. I think that was a good pick because they have some big names in the secondary, but they've been kind of shaky the last couple of seasons.
I agree with Jack. I think they had a great draft class. One of my favorites too. I gave him an A because I love Justin Jefferson. I'm honestly surprised he fell to them at 22. I think that's a great pick with Stephon Diggs leaving. And then Jeff Gladney is really, really underrated. He's a physical guy. And he's a monster. He at the NFL Combine, he ran his 40 on a torn meniscus and still ran a 4.48.
Yeah.
Dude's insane. And they filled a hole. And like with Xavier Rhodes leaving, they needed another corner. And they filled a hole with Ezra Cleveland from Boise State offensive tackle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
interesting
gave him a B
takes.
plus. The Justin Jefferson pick, stud receiver, replaced Stephon Diggs. Jeff Gladney replaced Rhodes open. So the two holes they needed to fill, they filled. They got more cornerbacks for depth in case Gladney struggles his rookie year, and they got Troy Dye, who I'm pretty high on from Oregon.
Okay, we all seem to agree on the Vikings. Let's talk about the Patriots. Alex?
I gave them a C plus. I thought Kyle Duggar was okay, and I'm just honestly kind of shocked they didn't draft a quarterback for Kyle Stidham to compete with for the starting job.
Jared Stidham,
And like
Brian
Huh?
Hoyer.
Brian Hoyer, and Jared Stidham.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my bad, wrong name. But as usual, they traded out of the first round. But yeah,
Yeah.
Noah?
I completely agree with Alex on that. I think I gave him a C plus also. I think Kyle Duggar is kind of a hit or miss pick because you never know with someone from that small of a school who didn't really go up against like tough competition. He could be good or bad. But I do like the Josh Uche pick from Michigan. I think he's going to be a good pass rusher, but I'm also shocked they didn't take a quarterback because Jared Stidham is not the answer.
Yeah. Or Brian Hoyer. Couple of randoms.
Okay, the Patriots are mysterious as hell. Let's move on to this.
I gave them an A.
I
I
like
gave
the
them an A. I
Patriots?
gave the Patriots an A.
Oh.
Yeah, Bill Belichick is one of the best drafters that I'm aware
don't-
of. And this Kyle
Um,
Duggar dude,
Kyle
I don't
Duggar
know
is
anything
basically
about him, but this guy could be a
Patrick
stud.
Dunn, but worse. That's all he is.
For whatever
Patrick.
reason. I don't know. He went to a D2 school, so it's hard to determine, but I like the pick. And I disagree. Jarrett Stidham would have been a top 5 rated quarterback if he went into the draft this year. So maybe Belichick's onto something with Jarrett Stidham and building around him.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, who does he have? He's got Julian Edelman and who's their running back?
He has that tight end from UCLA.
Yeah, I don't know.
You
I
got an
don't.
offensive lineman. Who knows?
I would not give him that high of a class. I don't think you can jump to assumptions on Kyle Duggar in either end of the either end because you don't know. No one knows much about him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I did
yeah.
actually. I like the
Also,
Saints
it-
draft for the next team.
Yeah, it is.
Because I mean, Cesar Ruiz, but the only thing they have to improve on is the interior of the offensive line, and he's a center. And Coach Sean Payton even said that the only team need that he really wanted was an interior offensive line. And even though a receiver or a front seven defender would probably be a little bit more exciting for the fans or for the team, I think it was the smartest pick.
I agree with Jack. I love Cesar Ruiz out of Michigan. He's going to be a really good interior lineman for a long time. I also love Zach Bond. I'm shocked he fell as far as he did. I think he's going to be a really good edge rusher. And I like Adam Troutman out of Dayton, the tight end. I think he's going to be good. That's a hole they needed to fill. So I give him an A minus. It would have been better, but I'm surprised they didn't take a quarterback because a lot of people think this is going to be Drew Brees' last year. A lot of people think this is going to be Drew Brees' last year, and I don't think Taysom Hill is going to be a franchise QB.
Okay.
I gave him a B minus for the Cesar Ruiz pick, the Zach Bond pick, and the Adam Troutman pick. But they took a quarterback. Yeah, he was in the 7th round, but I took one nonetheless. And Tommy Stevens, quarterback from Mississippi State, he only threw for 1,200 yards. So that's not good. But maybe there's some hidden potential in him. They could use him as a Swiss Army knife and maybe compete with Taysom Hill because Taysom Hill wasn't a high drafted player either. So.
Okay.
Maybe we could see some
No, do you have
competition for the
something to
future with Tommy
say
Stevens
to
and-
counter, Evan?
We'll see.
I do, because if someone throws for 1,200 yards in college, that's not going to be enough to be a franchise QB.
Yeah.
And they
I don't
need
never
one
say it's
because
franchise,
Drew
but-
Brees' stint as a Saint is coming to an end.
And they have
We'll see
another
how he
season
does.
too to get a quarterback.
Yeah.
Say
They,
again?
they,
I
they
don't,
can still get one next season.
Yeah.
I just found it
Yeah.
interesting that the Saints drafted a guy with 1,200 passing yards, so they must see something that no one else does.
I heard he's kind of like another Taysom Hill. I
Yeah,
heard
that's
he
what I
plays
read
like
also.
Taysom Hill.
Yeah, I think he sounds like kind of a bum.
Okay, let's move to the Giants.
Yeah, they're kind of. I mean, they got a good offensive tackle, and that was literally the only thing that they did was get an offensive tackle. And obviously,
disagree.
someone you draft in the top 5 isn't going to be bad. So they got a good pick there, but that's it.
I gave him a C plus. Andrew Thomas is not worth the 4th pick. If you wanted him to trade down, but if not, be smart. Get Mekhi Becton, get Tristan Wirfs, get Dedrick Wills. Xavier McKinney, I don't know why he slipped to the 2nd round, but he did, and the Giants got him, and he's a steal. Matt Pert, another offensive lineman, so they're just really trying to protect Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley with the most decent linemen they can possibly find available. So, they drafted well, but they didn't draft the best at the position, which
Yeah.
gives them a C plus.
I agree. At pick 4, they could have done much better than Andrew Thomas.
Yeah.
If they want to stay the route of protecting Daniel Jones, I think Tristan Wirfs and Jedrick Wills are much better than Andrew Thomas. And I think they could have taken Isaiah Simmons too instead.
Yeah.
I don't think he was the move at 4, but I do like the Xavier McKinney pick, so I gave him a C.
Yeah. Mans thought that the 4th overall offensive lineman was the 4th best in the draft. But Alex, what do you have to say?
I was just gonna say that I agree with what everything Evan and Noah were saying, and I gave them a B also. I like the Xavier McKinney pick, but other than that, it was just iffy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gilman's a
let's-
retard.
Yeah, let's move on to the Jets.
I think that they made the right call with getting someone to protect Sam Darnold's blind side and Mekhi Becton. Even though it was probably tempting to get CeeDee Lamb or Henry Ruggs, they got a 6'7", 365-pound offensive lineman to guard Sam
Mountain of
Darnold's
a
blind.
man.
Yeah, it's I think it was the smartest choice for them
Yeah.
in the first round.
I agree. I gave them an A. I thought they had I like their draft class a lot. I like how they went the route instead of taking the bait on the receiver early. They took Mekhi Becton, who's what they really needed there. And then I like how they, instead of taking the receiver early, they took the better O lineman and they waited on Denzel Mims, who's also a really good receiver out of Baylor. And then Ashton Davis, who's I think is going to be a star in the future. He's slept on a lot. Safety out of Cal, they needed him a lot. I just don't really understand the James Morgan pick from FIU. Not so sure about that.
I gave them a B. Mekhi Becton was a good pick. I don't think Mekhi Becton's a player. Denzel Mims, who's an extreme speedster from Baylor with phenomenal hands. I love the pick. And James Morgan, I'm interested with this pick because I like Belichick a lot, and Belichick was interested in drafting this guy and held a combine for him or whatnot. Maybe, I mean, Darnold's been really shaky his first couple of years, so maybe they brought in James Morgan to either light a fire under Darnold or to see if Adam Gase, the quarterback killer, can kill another quarterback. So I gave him a B.
I honestly, I agree with everyone else. I thought the Becton pick was a little questionable considering Tristan Wirfs was on the board, but I think overall they covered what they needed. I think James Morgan, I disagree with Evan more. I don't think he's gonna replace Darnold anytime soon because I think that they're building their entire offense around him, getting O linemen over the offseason. And I just think Darnold's definitely the future. I think Morgan's just a backup.
Yeah, I think Morgan's just some protection.
I
Yeah, a
think
lot to say about them, but let's talk about the Eagles.
very
Jack,
Oh,
bold to say the least, taking Rieger at number 21 with Jefferson still on the board. Rieger's fast, but I guess they might think he's a Deshaun Jackson or something, but no way you take him over Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I agree. I think Justin Jefferson definitely should have been the pick instead of Jalen Reagor. But and with Jalen Hurts in the second round, I mean I'm intrigued by the pick, but I don't think it was the right pick. I think they could have picked a corner that they needed more, but I think they could use him, move him around in the offense a little bit.
Yeah,
I gave him a C minus. They didn't have the pick to get CeeDee Lamb, but they could have for sure traded up to get CeeDee Lamb. Instead, they let him fall to the Cowboys, and then they choose Jalen Reagor, who's a stud, by the way. But they chose him over Justin Jefferson, who's even more of a stud. Jalen Hurts, I don't get the pick at all. If he's that 50-50 quarterback with the Carson Wentz, why in the second round? Why not get Tommy Stevens in the 7th round? I don't like the Jalen Hurts pick. They did get 2 speedy wide receivers, but they did not improve their really injury-prone secondary at all. So now they have to go against CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Zeke, and Michael Gallup and Dak twice a year and watch their secondary get torched by them.
Yeah,
I have a
Cowboys are
feeling
about to dominate that division.
yeah. I have a feeling that Wentz is going to get hurt like he always does, and Hurts is going to step in and then be the man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
I gave them a C. I'm pretty intrigued by the Jalen Hurts pick because I'm curious to see if they end up like splitting them with time because that would make it really hard on the defenses to have to prepare for 2 quarterbacks. But I also think that taking Jalen Reagor from TCU over Justin Jefferson was just kind of dumb, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with Alex about the quarterback situation. It's about splitting them to like make it hard on the defense, but also because Carson Wentz has been getting hurt a lot. Maybe that'll help protect him a little bit.
Yeah.
yeah. Let's talk about the Seahawks. How do you think they did, Evan?
I think the Seahawks did decent. Jordan Brooks, inside linebacker, decent pick. Darnell Taylor, defensive end, Tennessee, so they're really getting that pass rush. Maybe to replace Clowney with him. Colby Parkinson is one of my favorite tight ends in this draft. 6'7", massive behemoth of a dude from Stanford who catches everything. So I like that pick because whoever their tight end is, forgot his name, the guy from Washington, gets hurt a ton. So maybe to replace him or to partner with him. But they did not really address their offensive line nearly as much as I thought they should.
Yeah.
Because Russell Wilson runs around the pocket and outside the pocket all the time.
Yeah.
No protection. So I think they should have helped him more than the pass rush, which could be solved easier, I think.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree with Evan. I mean, I think they should have addressed the O-line and edge rush a little more, but I gave them a C because I don't love their picks. I think they were all kind of picks that had possible upside. I think they're a bunch of hit or miss picks. So you never know.
Okay.
I agree.
All right, let's move to
I
the
gave
Steelers
them a
real quick.
The Steelers, I mean, they did go out and get the 6'4", 240-pound Chase Claypool, but I mean, all that does is add to a bunch of tight ends that Ben Roethlisberger has to throw to, other than Juju. I think it was a really. They weren't bad. They weren't great. They were just right in the middle.
All right, Alex, I see you itching for to say something.
I thought that they should have taken a defensive tackle, but they ended up taking Carlos Davis, but that was later in the draft. I thought they should have taken someone better. I mean, they didn't really prioritize their needs very well, but I'm intrigued to see Chase Claypool because I thought they already had a pretty strong receiving core. So I'm kind of excited to see what they do with him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I gave him a B.
Why is that?
Chase
I think in the middle.
Chase Claypool, really good receiver to pair with Deontay Johnson and Juju. Anthony McFarland, who's not a bad running back at all. I don't think James Conner's their answer. And then Kevin Johnson, who's my favorite pick because he was the highest rated pass blocker in the draft. So, they get that. They get Anthony McFarland. And then, maybe James Conner has a better season. So now their run protection is better and possibly their pass protection is better as well for 4-year-old Ben.
Yeah,
I liked Alex's take on that. I gave him a C also, but because I like the Chase Claypool pick, helped make a dynamic offense, but also I agree with Alex said about D tackle. They needed to assess that need a little more. But the one spot I disagree with Evan on is I don't love Anthony McFarland. I think they could have done better at running back, and they should have addressed it sooner.
yeah, a lot of similar takes, but let's move on to the Bucks. Tampa Bay. Jack?
Great draft. I think they had a great draft going up and getting Tristan Wirfs. He's a great offensive lineman to guard Brady because we all know Brady's not moving anywhere. If he's going to if someone's in the backfield, he's going to get sacked. He's not going anywhere. So I think it was a smart pick, and I think they have enough weapons on offense that they didn't need to take anyone else on the offensive side of the ball.
Spin facts. Noah?
Yeah, I agree with Jack. I think Tristan Wirfs was actually the best offensive lineman in the draft. I don't know how he slid to them, but he did. So that's a great pick for them. Help protect old Brady. Antoine Winfield, really, really good safety. He can make some plays on the ball. Help with he kind of like strengthens their secondary. And then Keyshawn Vaughn, the running back out of Vanderbilt they took, I think he slept on a lot. He was kind of higher up with the running backs I like. So I think they had a really good draft. I gave him an A.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
I also
man.
gave them an A. I thought that
Me
they
too.
definitely improved their offense. They are surrounding Tom Brady with all of these threats right now. And I thought Tristan Wirfs was a really good pick. And also, I'm pretty intrigued to see what the running back situation is going to be like next year because they already have Ronald Jones in there and Peyton Barber. And now they're just adding 2 more with Raymond Calais. I don't know how to say it, and Keyshawn Vaughn.
That's true. Okay, let's start to talk about the Titans. Evan?
I give them a B. They filled a lot of holes, and I think they plan for the future a bit, possibly. Isaiah Wilson, offensive tackle, Georgia, great pick. Help with Derrick Henry. Christian Fulton, help the other side of the ball, lock down some more players. Darrington Evans is interesting to me. You don't pay running backs in the NFL. I don't think he will replace Derrick Henry, but if the time is, because they didn't pay Derrick Henry this year, they put him on franchise tag, which might mean something, who knows, but they get a good running back, I believe, and who knows, he could either replace Derrick Henry or limit Derrick Henry's carries so they can split it more.
Yeah.
So if they do pay Derrick Henry, he doesn't wear down instantly.
Yeah, if I were the
Also,
Titans,
Anywhere.
if I were the Titans, I would
Might
hold
also-
on to Derrick Henry because
I
And
he's
think
my
a
favorite
he's a
pick-
freaking
my favorite
beast.
pick-
you can't
Yeah.
go wrong with
My
Derrick
favorite
Henry.
pick-
He's unstoppable.
My
Jack?
favorite pick by the Titans was Cole McDonald from Hawaii. His hair is just sick. I don't know. I like him because his hair.
I liked
third is
Isaiah
the-
Wilson.
third in FBS and passing yards too. I don't know. We'll see.
I liked Isaiah Wilson because they lost Jack Conklin in free agency, so he helps on the offensive line. But I also don't think Derrick Henry is going to be going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
I mean, he's easily a top 5 running back in the NFL right now.
I ended up giving them an A. I thought that the Isaiah Wilson pick was also really good. I'm pretty surprised they didn't get more edge rush depth. And I thought that the cornerback Christian Fulton pick was also really good, considering they have Adoree Jackson and Malcolm Butler back there. So I think improving their cornerbacks is just going to be great for them.
Yeah, I agree with Alex. I give him an A minus. I love the Isaiah Wilson pick. I think he's an anchor there. Christian Fulton, I also love that pick. He really gives them now. I think they have one of the best secondaries in the NFL with that pick. I don't get. I mean, maybe the Darrington Evans pick is just. I think there's no chance Derrick Henry's going anywhere. But I think maybe the Darrington Evans pick is because they got rid of whatever Lewis. I don't remember his
Dion
first
Lewis.
Dion Lewis. They got rid of him, so I think he's kind of replacing Dion Lewis there as the third down back. But I get the only reason they weren't a solid A for me is because I think they needed to add edge rush and they didn't.
Okay, let's move on to the last team, the Washington Redskins with Khaleke Hudson. I mean, can't go wrong with Khaleke Hudson. What do you have to say about that, Jack?
I mean, they obviously Chase Young was a no-brainer for them. But I think that they had a decent draft. I don't know why they got rid of Trent Williams. I think the Niners kind of stole him from them. But Chase Young was a great pick for sure.
Yeah.
I agree with Jack. I gave them a B. I mean, the Chase Young pick is just a no-brainer for Ron Rivera, and I'm pretty intrigued to see what they do with all these new wideouts. And I want to see how they mesh with. Is it Dwayne Haskins starting now?
Yeah.
I just want to see how they mesh with him.
Yeah, and they got Terry McLaurin is a pretty decent receiver for him too.
I
gave Dwayne Haskins.
Alex.
Didn't Dwayne Haskins and Terry McLaurin play together at Ohio State? Probably. For a couple years?
They already have a chemistry built.
Yeah, that's going to be good for them.
Yeah.
I gave them a C plus because once again, Chase Young, no brainer. One of the best defensive prospects we've seen in a long time. I just don't. I mean, Antonio Gibson, he has potential. I don't think it's really all there though. And the only reason I gave him a B minus is because Sadiq Charles. I don't get why they traded Trent Williams, and I don't think Sadiq Charles, the offensive tackle from LSU, I don't think he's their way to fill in for Trent Williams. I don't like that move.
I gave them a B minus. Obviously, Chase Young, one of I think 5 players to get a perfect combine score, draft day score of 99, along with Von Miller, Patrick Peterson, a couple other guys. Antonio Gibson, running back from Memphis, they pair him with Geis. So now when Geis's ACL blows out, they have someone to run the ball with.
Yeah.
They got some late round defense. I think their defense could be scary with Montez Sweat, Chase Young, and just all the other talent they have.
Yeah.
And Antonio Gandy Golden from wide receiver from Liberty. So now, what they did with the Packers didn't and draft a receiver because this is a super talented class. So now that Terry McLaurin in his second year, when he faces possible double teams, they have another guy to throw the ball to.
Okay, thank you. I think that concludes.
No.
We
I
didn't
just want
talk
to add
Niners.
that I think you skipped a couple teams. You skipped the Niners and you skipped someone else.
You did.
Yeah, Niners.
We did not
Okay,
talk
so
about the Niners.
Let's talk about the Niners.
I'll take the Niners because I'm a fan. So at first, before the draft started, I was a little disappointed in getting rid of Buckner, but I guess I could see why because of his contract. But they once again for the 5th time in the last 6 seasons, they've used their first round pick on a defensive lineman. So hopefully pretty soon it'll start paying off. But I think Javon Kinlaw is a great athlete to put on the defensive line with Nick Bosa. Even though it would have been nice to get a receiver, I think that they definitely filled their need after getting rid of Buckner. And then they moved up 6 slots to grab Brennan Ayuk, or however you say it, the wide receiver, in the first round. And I think that was a good pick for them out of every other receiver available other than Pittman.
Yeah, I agree. I gave the Niners an A. I love their draft class because I was a little confused too when they got rid of DeForest Buckner, but like it makes a lot of sense now because they got rid of his contract. He's a little older, and now they get to fill in his spot with a younger, much cheaper Javon Kinlaw, who's a great pass rusher on the interior. And I love that they got Brandon Ayuk. I think he's like a really good athlete out of Arizona State, and their offense is gonna be like unstoppable now with George Kittle, Debo Samuel, and him, and also trading for Trent Williams to help protect Jimmy. And I think they're really making a run for the Super Bowl this
Yeah,
year.
I think
I
Trent Williams
agree.
was a great trade, and they got rid of Goodwin, who honestly he hasn't been good at all. And they got rid of Breida, but when you look at it, they still have
Yeah.
Raheem Mostert and Coleman and
Yeah, that's-
McKinnon, who
I
if he's
agree.
healthy.
Alex,
One more thing.
Alex.
I gave them an A-. I agree with Noah completely. I thought they covered a lot of their needs, and I thought it was an overall good draft. And I really don't mind them trading Matt Breida and Marquise Goodwin for extra picks. I thought that was
Yeah.
a pretty good move, and they also freed up a lot of cap space for themselves.
Mhm.
Yeah, I gave them a B plus. I think they, did pretty much perfectly. They handled DeForest Buckner's situation perfectly. Traded him away. Got Javon Kinlaw, same position, like hundredth of the money of the contract. Don't need to pay him for their 5 years. Brandon Ayuk, one of the best receivers in the draft, got him. Got Trent Williams for a third and fifth. No big deal. But great player, but no big deal trade wise to replace Joe Staley, Colton McKivitz, more O line depth, and another late round wide receiver in Jennings from Tennessee. So they addressed everything perfectly. In their weak spots, their quarterback, which it was the same case as last year, but they built even more weapons around him to hopefully hide that weak spot.
Yeah, I think that the rest of the offense could maybe carry him a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that all the teams?
I think we're
I
done.
think that's
Well,
I think we did
okay.
it.
Okay. Thank you. I think that concludes our rating the NFL teams draft set portion of the podcast. And thanks for listening.